It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of April 16th, 2004. Only 3 movies to look at today, but there's some big ones here, and none bigger than the first movie we have here, and that is, of course, the second part of the 4th film by Quentin Tarantino, and that is Uma Thurman in Kill Bill Volume 2. We could have done this in the first movie, but no, this is a movie that had to be split into 2 parts. According to Tarantino, but I'm sorry. The first part still has the most memorable moments here. The second part, I hate to say it because I do like this movie, but it is a major letdown. You have Uma Thurman once again as the bride, who continues her campaign of revenge against the Deadly Viper assassination squad, Lucy Liu, Michael Madsen, Daryl Hannah, and Vivica A. Fox, and their leader Bill, Daria Carradine, who tried to kill her and her unborn child. And like I said before, the first movie had the most memorable moments from this story in general, and this is the second film, and you expect the second film to really be the film where we get all the moments that are building up to this big moment where the title happens. This woman's going to go kill Bill, and even when she does it, it really is one of the most anticlimactic ways of doing it. And by the end of it, it's just like you're just like, that's it. You said this is a 4-hour movie essentially a 4-hour movie split into 2 parts. You made people wait 6 months for an ending like that, and it's conflicting for me. Like, I like this movie. I mean, I like both the Kill Bill movies, but man, the first film I thought had all the best parts about it. And usually it's the other way around when it comes to 2-part movies. Usually part 1 is where it starts off very slow, and then they save all the good stuff for part 2. But in this case, Tarantino decides to put all the best stuff in part 1, and then part 2 is pretty much just killing time until we get to the moment where the title happens. And it's just, I don't know. To me, that really hurts the movie in the long run. That we built up this moment, we're waiting for the moment that Uma Thurman's finally going to go kill Bill, and the end result is this really anticlimactic moment that just really does not work in any way, shape, or form. And you just really come out of it going like, wow. I mean, you built this whole thing up for that? I mean, it's a bad movie. I take that back. I shouldn't have said that. It's not a bad movie. It's a good movie, but it definitely is the lesser of the 2 movies. This really could have been trimmed down to 1 full movie, and you wouldn't have had a problem with it whatsoever. But because we're splitting it into 2 parts and waiting 6 months in between movies, it's just like, come on, man. It's just like you had all that time to build this up, and you really had waited to go to that levels to do it like this. And the sad part is, like I said, it's not a bad movie. It's just a film that is just so, all the good stuff was in part 1. And you really have to sit through a lot of filler to get to the moment you're waiting for here. And when you finally get to that moment, it just unfortunately leads to a very lackluster showing in general. It would be nice to see that whole bloody version, which Tarantino has made, and unfortunately there's never been a proper Blu-ray release to feature both parts together. And I don't know why he's taken so long to do that. I mean, he said, he had that movie that he said was going to be his last movie, and now these things are not doing it. Put some time into putting this out there. It's like you have an opportunity to put every bit of these 2 movies together and bring it out to the main public instead of having people having to go to these special screenings to see it. And it's just like, let people see the damn movie. I mean, let people see the whole movie in general. Because I'm probably convinced that the whole movie could probably work in general, but it just really does. It's amazing how it's been so long since he's been promising this one cut of both parts together, and he's yet to deliver it. And I think honestly that's really a major unfortunate thing, because the way that you have these 2 parts split up, and like I said, the first part really is where the best stuff is, the stuff we remember the most, and the second part, well, you should have everything building up to that moment where the title happens, and it's just one of the most anticlimactic things you will ever see in your entire life, and it's unfortunate. But like I said, it's not a bad movie. It's just not a good. It's a good movie, but it really could have been a whole lot better if they had just put more effort into, ramping this up more, and build this moment up, and don't go this anticlimactic route that you do here. I mean, that's just my personal take on it. I mean, I think most people can agree with me that the first part is the best moments in it, but, I don't know, me personally, I thought the second part was not as good. It's still good in general, but it just really let me down. That we built up this whole movie to just leave with such an anticlimactic note. Like, I just want to see. Let me see it let me see the whole movie in one, because I feel like if you do that, I think my thoughts on this movie not having as much stuff in there really could change around. But then again, who knows if that ever will happen? Quite honestly. So yeah, that is Kill Bill Volume 2. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, which is The Punisher. We're going to realize here that a much better movie came out a week later that was very similar to this movie, where you have, an action thriller about a guy, a desperate, alcoholic, former CIA operative, U.S. Marine Corps Force reconnaissance officer turned bodyguard, who goes on a rampage after his charge a 9-year-old is abducted in Mexico City. That movie was called Man on Fire. So why am I bringing it up here? Well, let's take a look at the synopsis for this, and let me see if you get an idea of what this reminds you of. Special Agent Frank Castle, played by Thomas Jane, had it all. A loving family, a great life, and an adventurous job. But when his life is taken away from him by a ruthless criminal played by John Travolta and his associates, Frank has become reborn, now serving as judge, jury, and executioner, a new kind of vigilante out to wage a one-man war against those who have done him wrong. And, for the most part, the movie does follow the main origin story of the character, but as far as the movie goes, it's a major disappointment. And the biggest problem with the film is the casting. Thomas Jane, who can be a good actor at times, doesn't look or feel like Frank Castle at all. And he overplays this role way too much. John Travolta is such a pointless villain. And he plays it so over the top, like it's on the levels of Turtle in Battlefield Earth. That's how bad this is. The script features some really bad bits of dialogue, some of the cheesiest lines you will ever hear in an action movie. Lines that you've heard done to death in numerous other action movies. And this movie does absolutely nothing different to make those lines work. And, I brought up Man on Fire for a reason, because we're going to delve more into this next time around when we look at that film. But the best movie about The Punisher came out the next week, and it was not The Punisher, it was Man on Fire, which was pretty much a Punisher movie with Denzel Washington playing a character so much like Frank Castle, except for carrying the name of Frank Castle. That's the better Punisher movie. If you want to see a movie that around that time, that's the much better one to watch. But I'm willing to bet that all of us out there already have seen it. We'll delve more into that later on, but I guess if you want to see the better Punisher film with actually the Punisher involved in it, you'd have to wait a couple years for Punisher Warzone. But other than that, though, you just skip out on this movie. It's a really, really bad film in general. So, yeah. Let's go ahead and move on to the last movie here, which is Connie and Carla, which is Nia Vardalos' follow-up to My Big Fat Greek Wedding. And let's see if this has the same kind of success that My Big Fat Greek Wedding did. Nope. This was the beginning of the downfall for Nia Vardalos, who... Actually, you could make the argument that the My Big Fat Greek Life TV series was the beginning of the downfall, because she never had that success that the first My Big Fat Greek Wedding had 2 years prior to this. And this was one of those films where it's just like, she's never coming back after this. After accidentally witnessing a mafia hit in the Windy City, gal pals Connie and Carla, played by Nia Vardalos and Toni Collette, skip town for L.A., where they go way undercover as singers working the city's dinner theater circuit as drag queens. Now, it's not enough that they become big hits on the scene. Things get extra weird when Connie meets Jeff, a guy she'd like to be a woman with. And so, it's basically a lazier version of Victor Victoria, except doesn't have the comedy stylings of Blake Edwards or a great performance by Julie Andrews to save it. Instead, you've got Nia Vardalos and Toni Collette wasting their talents on a comedy that's not funny at all. Like, I purposely stopped it at that scene in particular, because it's just like, if you even think that this movie has any kind of hope left to it, that scene right there should just tell you that no, you're not getting anything out of this movie. And this was the beginning of the downfall for Nia Vardalos. I mean, this was a film that she never found a way to cash in after My Big Fat Greek Wedding. Every single movie she tried to do after this was always a failure. She relegated herself to just very few special appearances in TV shows, and then when things went to when she couldn't find. Let me rephrase that. When she couldn't find success elsewhere, that's what I was trying to say. When she couldn't find success elsewhere, what did she do? Went back to the thing that made her famous in the first place, with pointless sequels to My Big Fat Greek Wedding that were nowhere near as successful as the first movie, but she made them anyway because, hey, she's got to pay for her house somehow. I mean, like I don't even want to say anything bad about her, but I'm sorry. These are the type of movies that make you never have a career after this. It's just like you're living off of something that you did the first time around, and you just cannot get away from that. And every time you try to do it, nobody wants to go see it because nobody wants to see you in a movie like this. And again, it could work if it was funny. It could work if there was something valuable to it. But this movie is so stupid and so pathetic. Like I said, there have been better drag movies that have been much funnier than this. You know, Victor Victoria, Tootsie, Mrs. Doubtfire, Tu Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar, Big Mama's House. I mean, these movies that are much, much funnier than anything from this pile of garbage. And this is a lazily put together movie that is not funny, not clever whatsoever. It is stupid. It's ridiculous. It is one of the worst movies it's one of the worst comedies I've ever seen. Just a terrible, terrible movie. What more do I gotta say, man? It's freaking Connie and Carla. So with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies, and as I mentioned before, next week we'll take a look at Denzel Washington in Tony Scott's Man on Fire. We have Jennifer Gardner trying to pull out what Tom Hanks did in Big 16 years prior with Big in 13 Going on 30, and we also have, finally, Clifford's really big movie, which was one of the last, if not the last, performance by John Ritter before he passed away, and we'll take a look at those three movies next time around. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the place on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So, with that said, I'm off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.